Oh my God. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So sorry, we have a little bit of technical difficulties before starting, as always, but we are finally here with Angie Shearer. She is the founder of Full Color Coaching, and it's a pleasure to have you here with us today, Angie. Welcome.
Oh, no, thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you so much. And Carla is going to be joining us in a couple of minutes, hopefully. And I would like to start, obviously, by asking, there she is. Perfect. We are all here. And I would like to start asking Angie, basically, tell the audience, who are you? What do you do? What's your background?
Yeah, sure. So, my background is a PE teacher. I've been teaching in secondary schools now for almost 15 years and really enjoy it. I teach in Scotland, in the UK. Um, but in the recent last few years, I have grown a great interest in helping young people with their mental health and well-being more. And I came across coaching and thought, yeah, this is what I need to learn and what to do in order to help young people more. So I've done my ICF coaching qualification now, and I recently gained my ACC accreditation. And I'm currently still teaching PE, but starting to look to try to do more coaching and currently working with some local schools just now, um, some one-to-one coaching and some group coaching with young people. And in addition to that, I've been also doing some courses in positive psychology and linking that into my coaching as well, and just that using some really great positive psychology interventions that support the young people in maybe overcoming negative thinking or how to build their resilience or build their confidence. There's some really great little tools and strategies that we can use from positive psychology that has shown to help their well-being. So that's kind of where I'm at just now. I've started up full color coaching just in the past year and looking to just grow and expand that as I build up more coaching clients.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Angie. And I'm very curious to know about how you combine positive psychology, well-being, and coaching into every intervention with, with a group of young children that you work with.
Yeah, so with the coaching, so I listen really carefully to what the young people are saying and ask them open, curious questions to get them thinking about their situation and maybe different pathways that are open to them as to how they can see themselves um, improving their confidence or resilience. But sometimes they'll get a bit stuck and unsure as to I don't know how to feel better. I don't know what I can do. Um, and so that's where, with the positive psychology interventions and research and knowledge that I've built up, um, I can offer some interventions for them to choose whether that's something that might work for them or not. Um, and so, for example, they might, we often maybe look at what their character strengths are and look at the research around strengths. And sometimes they really like that session because quite often they're coming with their worries, their doubts, their insecurities. However, when we do the strengths, they realize they've got like honesty and bravery and leadership skills that they maybe haven't fully been aware of because it just comes naturally to them. And to actually think, oh wow, I've got this strength, and actually how can this strength help me build my confidence, or how can I use that strength to make more friends, how can I use that strength to bounce back when I hit a block. So like strengths are a really good one. I also just even encouraging them to think about 3 things from their day that they found um, really good in that day, picking out things that they're grateful for or appreciate, and even just starting the coaching sessions with what's gone well this week. rather than just diving into what's not so good. Just getting them to think, oh, actually, well, this was actually good this week, and broadening that positive emotions, which will then, when we come into the coaching with them, the positive emotions will help them to see more opportunities, more pathways than what they might be able to see if they're in that more negative state of mind, where they're feeling more down, where our vision narrows and we can't actually take in and see as much opportunities that are maybe there.
Okay. Yeah, I totally agree with that, especially because normally in the education system, they more or less teach everyone to see what they're failing at instead of what their strengths are, and to work from the strength instead of from the weakness, to put it that way, to
Yeah, yeah.
it like that. So I do resonate with you about including positive psychology in the coaching, especially when you're working with young people, and that is great. Carla, it's going to now share some of the comments from the audience, and see where we go with the conversation.
Sure.
Yeah, we've got a question from Beatrix, who says, Angie, have you noticed an increased interest in mental health over the last year?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think in a few different ways. Like, some people have, in a positive way, been able to reflect on this past year with COVID, that actually I need to look after myself. I need to figure out what I should do for self-care. It's actually quite nice to take life at a slower pace and not be constantly working all the time. And this past year, I think, has helped some people to reflect on their mental health and to think how they can maintain that while still kind of go slowly transitioning back into the new normal when that happens. But also, unfortunately, there's also the other side of it, that the increased interest in mental health, there's that side where we're noticing more young people struggling even more than they were before this pandemic, and more articles and education thinking, right, what are we going to do? Like, how can we put in the support in place to help young people and staff and others in the community supporting these young people? And that's where I think coaching and like positive psychology or positive education type interventions are really important to bring into schools. So it is actually early intervention where we're proactively building positive mental health and well-being. We're not just waiting until young people are struggling and then referring them to a counsellor. If we can get more of that early intervention with the coaching and positive psychology and help young people learn about how they can actually proactively look after their mental health, just like they would look after their physical health, then hopefully down the line, they've built up a lot of the tools and strategies that they would potentially learn. Some resilience thinking skills, for example, they would potentially learn them with a counsellor. But why do we have to wait then to teach them these skills? We can teach them the skills now, so that hopefully we prevent as many young people requiring that next step of support down the line.
Right. Yes, definitely. I think that what you're saying is very important. We need to, instead of actually treat what's already been, causing a struggle, we might as well start preventing what might cause that struggle instead. So yes, that's very interesting, and it's actually very powerful. It's a powerful message here for not only for the young people, but also for teachers and students and for the schools as well, that we really need to start investing and creating spaces where we can prevent these kind of mental health issues and so on. I would like to ask Carla if, Carla, is there anything that you would like to add or that you would like to share with us and the audience?
Yeah, I would definitely second what Angie said there about focusing more on the prevention for young people than the cure. I think we are all we're all similar ages, and we're of the generation where people didn't know this stuff. our parents and teachers didn't know this stuff. They had no idea that sometimes what they were saying and doing was so damaging to us, because they were just doing their best for that time. And we've gone through that, having to heal ourselves from what we've been learning and through our work. And I know I did this through my work with children with special needs. I didn't realize how many special needs I had till I worked with children with special needs. And then when I saw the interventions, I was like, well, yeah, this is all very good and well, but wouldn't it have been great if someone had got in there much earlier, you know? And sadly, for some people, it is too late as well. So I think if we can definitely see this shift towards prevention for the next generation of young people, that's going to be an incredible step forward for humanity, you know, and the effects of that on society are going to be profound, aren't they? Because they're going to have those tools as they're growing up and be able to self-heal much quicker if they've been through difficult times, but also get on the ground running much sooner in adult life, rather than spending half of their adult life being lost and then finding a coach and fixing themselves before they can get going, you know. So yeah, absolutely, I love that, Angie, and the fact that you brought that out. And we've got some more comments as well, Angela. I'll read those out while I'm going. So Karen says, I've been using Angie's character strength cards with young people I work with. They're great for helping children realize the skills and strengths they possess. Angie, I actually met from a race meeting about a year ago and have kept in touch ever since. And we've got a comment also from, I think it's Beatrix or someone in the background. They're saying, hi, Angie, do you think that pandemic has created more anxious students? And how can we help them using positive psychology?
So yeah, the pandemic has created more anxious students, but even it's created more anxious adults. It's created, you know, this anxiety across everyone, and that's like quite normal. But then it's, how can we help these young people and help others around us know how to manage that and get back to feeling safe and okay again. And how we use positive psychology a little bit is in terms of our thinking, because we have that negativity bias that is just innate in us. It's thanks to our ancestors from all those years ago, trying to stay alive and not getting eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. So we've got this innate negativity bias that's meant to keep us safe and protect us from harm. But sometimes that can go into overdrive when we are actually safe, but our brain thinks that we're not. And so we can use lots of different kind of interventions, even just consciously thinking, what were the good things from my day? Because quite often when you're anxious, you're worried, you look back on your day and think it was all bad, like there was nothing good in it. But when you actually start to think, well, actually, if I break the day down, what were the small glimpses of, like, I was laughing with my friends at lunchtime. I had a good science lesson because it was the teacher did a really good lesson. But our mind chatter is kind of something that we need to then try and help the students to manage and challenge thoughts that aren't actually true. So when they're thinking, they're going into school again just now in Scotland, and I can definitely notice pupils that are more anxious that weren't really anxious pupils before all this started. And it's that worriness of being around people again, and will I catch COVID or will I give it to someone else? And I'm not used to being around all these people because I'm used to being at home with my mum and dad, and it's just me and my brother, and that's it. Now you're around 30 pupils in one class, and then that anxiety builds up and you're thinking all these catastrophizing thoughts, one thought leading to another, that snowballs to create that anxiety. And teaching young people that you can actually catch those thoughts and challenge them a bit. Like, is that true? Am I going to catch COVID and then give it to someone else? Well, there's maybe a 1% chance I will, but actually there's 99% chance I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be okay. And even just teaching that little, like, catch, check, and change, checking your thoughts, challenging them, and breathing exercises are great for anxiety. The 3 good things. There's just so many little tips and tools that people can use that will help them to think a bit more accurately about things and not catastrophize be careful what thinking traps they're getting into, noticing the thinking traps they're getting into, and then helping reframe that to something more accurate and more helpful so that they feel calmer about the situation that they're in.
Okay, yes. And I would like to add that something about positive psychology. And positive psychology doesn't mean necessarily that everything is perfect and everything is great. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that although there are things that are happening, you can actually see the whole picture and make the most of it. It's just like, be aware of the emotions that are happening there, understand what's going on, what's happening. It doesn't have to be good or bad. It's just something that is happening, and then just make the most of it. So it's what you're doing, and all the topic that you're bringing in, it's actually very, very interesting for parents and teachers also to know a little bit about positive psychology and to include positive psychology in their daily conversations, and allow young students and allow young people to check on their emotions, challenge them to understand what's really going on in the bigger picture, and then start flowing through the circumstances or the situation as well. So I'm really, really happy to have you here with us. We're going to carry on with some more comments. Karen, would you like to read some more and I'll show them?
Yeah, Jacob says, thanks for this great topic, Angie. When students struggle while with studying at school, they fall into this cycle of negative feelings one after another. What would you recommend for educators to help students get out of that trap?
So I would say, and this is probably one of the main things with students, it's not that they can't do the subject or they haven't got the potential. What it is they think that they can't do it, and therefore what I try to teach students sometimes is that it's their thoughts creating their feelings, which then create the behaviors that they do. So I actually talk through a cycle like that. So if you have a thought that you're going to fail that exam, how are you going to be feeling? Like, well, not motivated. I'm going to be feeling quite anxious and stressed and worried about things. And I was like, okay, what are you going to then do if you're feeling that way? So they say, well, I'll probably avoid studying because I'm not feeling great and like put my head in the stand basically. I'm saying, okay, then what are you then going to be thinking? I'm like, well, that I can't do it. And it's that kind of self-fulfilling prophecy where you're in that negative cycle. But then encouraging the students to think, right, okay, well, who says you're going to fail? Again, it's like challenging that thought that they're having and then creating a more helpful thought. So a more helpful thought they might come up with is that, okay, I'm struggling with this subject, but I'm going to study hard and try my best at that test and see how I get on. I was like, okay, if you have that thought, how are you feeling then? Well, yeah, a bit more happier, a bit more hopeful that I'll do okay and a bit more motivated to try. I'm like, if you're feeling that way, what is your actions going to be? And they say, well, yeah, I probably will study a bit. I'll go and ask the teacher if I get stuck. And say, okay, so now you're actually doing those positive things. It's going to help you get towards passing that little test or whatever. And when you do, what thought are you going to have? It's like, well, yeah, by giving it a go and trying, I was able to do quite well, better than I thought I would. And so then you get into more of a positive cycle of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And I suppose again, it's just, I'd encourage educators to kind of challenge the thinking that the students have. How do they know they're going to fail? Like, you can't predict the future. What can you and thinking about what can they plan to do now that can help them, and planning for those things that crop up. So we all know that when we're studying, we want to reach out and maybe put on Netflix, or we've got our iPhone right next to us, and it's so easy to go and check the notifications on it, and half an hour's gone past. So talking through it's like if-then statements that are quite good. So if I feel like checking my phone, then I will, like put it into another room or, turn it off completely. and continue studying for the next 15 minutes. If I get home and I feel like putting on Netflix, then I'm going to get out my study planner and focus on it. So it's coming up with like the obstacles that might get in your way for success and coming up with the action plan of how you're going to overcome that if that situation arises. So that's just like a few things there that seems to help young people when you talk them through that.
Thank you, Angie. I love that, especially because maybe we as coaches, we might know that there is always, the cycle goes thought, emotion, action, or behavior. But this is a great reminder for teachers and parents as well to understand that if you want to challenge a feeling or understand a feeling, you need to go up to the thought first. And then from the thought, then you can change the feeling, put it in those terms, and then you can change the behavior. So I hope that everyone that's watching these, take notes, thoughts, emotion, action, or behavior, and that's the way to tackle these changes. Really. So there are more comments here. I'm going to share this one.
Yeah, Renu says, how can we build resilience in children if they are homeschooling? Please share a few tips for parents.
Yeah, sure. So the thing about building resilience in young people is, and it's really difficult for parents because they don't want to see their child struggle at all. They don't want to see their child get upset about work that they're trying to complete. But one of the key things that you can do is not to jump in and try to rescue them from that difficult task. Support them and guide them. And that's where some like open questions can come in quite good. So if your child is working through some tasks at home, like, get them to say, what's another way you could try to do that? Or how else could you come up with the answer? What else could you try? And encouraging the young person to explore the options and find the solution themselves. And if they can do that, that's what will then help build that bit of confidence. Oh, I've actually been able to do this. Whereas if we jump in too quickly and say, oh, well, the answer to that is 15, you're not giving them the chance to like maybe try it, get it wrong, and then try it again and get it right and build that resilience. So they might struggle, they might be a bit upset if they can't get something, but just trying to support them, but try not give them the answer, like support them to find the answers for themselves, like thinking what's another way you could think about it, how else could you find out the answer, what other things could you try, and encouraging the young person to come up with that themselves rather than, and teachers, I can be, bad for it as well. You say, right, go to this website and do this and do that and do this. And it goes in one ear and out the other quite a lot for students. But if you get them to come up with the solutions themselves, right, what are you going to do to do that piece of work? And they tell you, right, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. It's more likely they'll then do it and build their confidence and resilience from doing it themselves rather than a teacher or a parent rescuing them and telling them the answer and then thinking, oh, they're happy, they're okay because they've managed to do the work. But actually, they need a bit of struggle, they need a bit of challenge, and that is what builds the resilience when they come out the other side of it and realize, yeah, that was challenging, that was hard, but I got there and I overcame that challenge. So it's hard to not step in, but I think that's the thing I would just say is try let them go through a bit of struggle, and when they're struggling, that's probably when they're learning the most, and just give them some support and guidance, but without try to give them too much of the answers or solutions for them.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Angie, for that. I hope that's okay. Renu, that she asked her question and she wanted some tips. So I hope that she has some tips now, and our audience. So, Angie, we have 5 more minutes before we finish this live, and I would like to ask you, what do you think organizations like Race and Full Color Coaching, which is yours, can do to bring awareness and to create a space for well-being, for resilience, for coaching? What do you think we can bring in, and how, so people know how to reach out for full color coaching and for race?
Well, I think what Race are doing is fantastic, and where it's grown over the past couple of years. And I feel a big part is like networking and helping support each other and getting the word out there to let other people know about the great work that's going on. Because like just now we've been talking and sharing about our experiences in practice and how that can then help other people that are listening. And the more we could get the word out to these great organizations and get schools on board to realize that coaching is the way forward to get coaching into schools to support staff, students, and even the wider community. Like as full color coaching, there's just one of me. So at the moment, I mean, it'd be great to grow and develop. But for me, what I would like to try to do is like teach young people, like senior students in the school, how to coach. So then that impact is wider, because I'll pass on my skills to some other students who can then pass that skills on to young people they're working with. And I think that would be great for full color coaching, but also like you guys in Race, you're passing on your experience of coaching and you're learning to other people who can then pass that on. And I think that'll be a key thing, I think, is the networking and sharing and supporting others out there who want to learn about coaching and how it can help support maybe in their schools or help their young people.
Thank you. Yes, I think that we are trying our best. All of us are trying our best to build a community, a very powerful and global community that
Yeah.
brings people together, like-minded people who are really interested in coaching, in positive psychology, in well-being, in education. And yes, we're creating these spaces and bringing people on board like you and all our guests. And I think that we need to just summarize a couple of things, Angie, that you would like to tell people about building resilience in young people and creating a more positive um, thoughts or mental health and awareness in schools.
Yeah, sure. So part of building resilience and where coaching helps is that empowerment you're giving the young person to find and discover their own pathway forward, their own solutions to the challenges they're facing, solving the problems that they're facing themselves. So you want to empower the young person to have the ownership of that, but you're supporting them and helping them to get there, but not giving them the answer. You're like, okay, how can you do that? What can you do? How might you overcome that challenge? And they're coming up with the answer, and they're empowered to take that action and that steps to achieve what it is that they're looking to achieve. And by doing that, that's them building their resilience, rather than us always jumping in and rescuing them and stopping them from failing, stopping them from ever feeling down. Like life is going to have lots of ups and downs, and even as adults, we are struggling with stress and anxiety and lots of ups and downs in life. And rather than trying to take all the bad stuff away and only have good stuff, it's try to teach and help young people learn how to positively build their mental health and well-being, but also how do you cope when things do go wrong and things aren't so good. And that's totally normal. We have sadness and anger for good reasons. It's when we hold on to those emotions too long that they cause a problem. So helping young people when they are sad, when they are angry, recognize those emotions and then how to deal with them there and then, rather than them all getting stuck for years and years, and then you end up trying to get help later on down the line because you've never really known what those feelings were and how to deal with them. But with like positive psychology, I've been trying to bring it in a little bit into my school, where we teach some of the young people a lot of the skills in the interventions, such as like learning their character strengths, learning what they're good at and how they can apply their character strengths to overcome challenges, to achieve their goals. How we can use like different aspects of the PERMA model, like how can they increase their positive emotions, what kind of things do they enjoy doing, recognizing their feelings, building their empathy, but how do they build positive relationships with others. And so by bringing that into the young people, helping them to understand some of the science behind how our brain works and the negativity bias, recognizing that that's normal for everyone, but then also understanding there's something I can do about that. I can focus on 3 good things a day and start to build up that ability to see more opportunity and more good things that are out there, rather than allowing my negativity bias to override everything else. I can catch negative thoughts and check how accurate they are, and if they're not, learn how to reframe it to something more helpful, which then impacts how we feel and the actions we then take to achieving our goals, getting ready for those exams, and so on. So I don't know if that was a summary, because I've talked for a wee bit there, but I hope that helps a little bit. Yeah.
It helps a lot. I think it was a great way of rounding up everything that we have been saying today. I think it was amazing to have you here and to talk about positive psychology, to talk about character strength, the PERMA flow as well, with all these kind of amazing topics that we can include in the coaching and in education. So Angie, thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and we hope to see you more often here at Raise. Thank you, Carla, again for helping, and thank you to everyone over there in the audience with your questions and with your support. And don't forget that we have these live streamings every Wednesday with more guests and more interesting topics. So thank you very much, and see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Thank you.